Good morning, and welcome to another installment of Casey's Motivational Movement, where today I want to talk just briefly about energy. Now, when I came up with this idea, when I came up with this notion that I wanted to talk about energy, I took out a pad of paper and a pen, and I began to write the things that I knew about energy, which I quickly found out wasn't much. The things that I did remember through the lessons about energy that I learned through elementary and junior high and high school, I just barely knew the elementary fundamental things about energy. The first thing I wrote down was one of the most famous equations of all time, came up by Albert Einstein in his theory of relativity. It says that E, or energy, equals M, which is mass, times C, which is the speed of light, squared. So E equals mc squared. Now, when I thought about that, what did that tell me? At the time, not much. It didn't really mean anything to me. E equals mc squared. But as I began to look a little deeper, it came to me that all the equation is saying that anything that has energy will have mass form as well. Anything that has a mass form will have energy equivalent to it as well. So everything that has mass is energy. We are energy. Our body feels our energy. Everything around us is energy. The next thing that I wrote down is the different kinds of energy that I remember. The first kind of energy that I remembered is kinetic energy. Basically, kinetic energy is energy in motion. They say that once energy is in motion, it kind of tends to stay in motion, which is true. Energy continues to move and it continues to change form as it does so. The next kind of energy is potential energy or stored energy. Now, a lot of us have stored energy or potential energy within us. Energy that we don't use, energy that's there at our disposal, but we don't tap into it. Now, an example of stored energy would be the water faucet. Now, behind that faucet is pipes, and it leads down to a water supply, a main water supply. Now, that water is ready to go. It has potential to pour out, but it's stored up until somebody turns that valve and releases that water. And that's the same thing that happens to us. We have so much potential energy that's stored up within us, and all we have to do is activate it. But a lot of us don't have that know-how, that intuitive to know how to go ahead and activate that potential energy. Now, the next thing I wrote down is the first law of thermodynamics, or more specifically, it was the law of conservation of energy. Now, the law of conservation of energy says that energy can never be created, nor can it be destroyed. It can only be transferred. Now, I heard this over the years, many times I heard it over years, but it never really kicked in until I went a little further. Now, all that's saying is basically, I have this bottle of water. The energy form in this water, because we know that E equals mc squared, the energy form in this water is one form. Now, if I take this bottle of water and I stick it in the freezer, and the temperature of this water begins to drop until it forms a solid state or ice, that's the same water, but just a different form. The same energy, but just a different form. Now, if I take the same water and I put it on a pot, and I turn that pot on and I bring the water to a boil, what's going to begin to happen is that water is going to start turning into a vapor. And when that water turns into a vapor, it's still the same water, just a different form. So it's still energy, but just changing a different form of energy. Now, these are just a couple of things that I figured out I would look at, and I wanted to talk about them. I wanted to talk about this thing that that we call energy. I want to talk about this thing that is equivalent to mass times the speed of light squared. I want to talk about this thing that has kinetic energy, energy in motion, that has potential energy, stored up energy. Now, many times we notice energy. Now, when I say energy, it's a new thing. It's almost like a new concept here in our Western society, in our Western culture. But overseas and other places in the East, it's more prevalent when they talk about energy. Think about this. Think about going to work on a Monday morning, and if you work in maybe a tall building, think about a time that you've gotten on an elevator on a Monday morning and thought about the energy level that was on that elevator. It's almost like a sad, a somber. You can tell Monday. Monday is one of those days that make no mistake about it, you can go into a Monday and you can know it's Monday. Because what happens is, on Monday morning, we're usually up a little bit late. Something goes wrong. We don't really want to go to work. The alarm clock went off way too early. And now we're going to a job that we don't even like. This is Monday. Now, reading an article, I read an article in Men's Health that talked about Monday morning. And it talked about the heart attack rate on Monday morning. It said the heart attack rate goes up 33% on Monday morning. Again, it's because of all these factors. People getting up way too early after a weekend of partying. Now they spent all their money after they've been partying. Now they're broke. Now they're going to a job that they don't like. Now they're having to fight traffic going to a job that they don't want to be at. Now, by the time they get to the job and they jump on that elevator with you, their energy level is low. Now, what we've heard is energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. So what happens is once we jump on that elevator, energy begins to transfer. Energy begins to be in motion. That potential energy that's stored up chooses a direction, and it goes through the negative emotions. Now, one quick thing about emotions here. We have different emotions, whether they're happy emotions or sad emotions. We have all of these emotions. And what I like to call emotions is energy in motion. Again, I said there was some bad energy. Now, some of the bad energy that we can think about, that bad emotions that we can put out into the atmosphere, are things like hate, worry, fear, doubt, and even jealousy. We have to be able to change our mind state. See, I believe that every time we walk into a room, we are responsible for the energy that we bring into that room. Again, we know that energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. So as we think about the energy that we want to pass on, as we think about the energy that we want to bring into a room, we have to be cognizant of it. We have to think thoughts such as love, happiness, thoughts of contentment, thoughts of joy. And see, one thing about what they used to say back in the days, never let anyone steal your joy, because it's not theirs to take. We have to make a mind state of these positive energies, these positive emotions, that happiness, love, commitment, contentment, joy. We have to make a mindset that we are going to bring these energies into the room as we go into the room. Now, as we go to work, we'll see, again, as we start to go in on Mondays. See, there's never a problem think about on Wednesdays, as we start talking about hump day. There's never a problem on Friday when we're getting ready to go into the weekend. Party time. It's payday. It's Friday night. You just got paid. Now you want to go out into the town. But that cycle continues. And eventually we're back at Monday again. And that energy that you decide to bring into work with you will be contagious. And it'll affect the rest of your coworkers. One of the things that I put in my mind as I go into work, as I know that I'm responsible for the energy that I bring, I make it a point to make it that I'm going to work because I want to change the energy. I want the energy level to be contagious. I want the good energy, that happiness, that love, that contentment, the joy, the courage. I want all these things to be transferred into my co-workers. And as we talk about energy, there's a team, as a team effort, as you collectively work on a team effort, and you reach and you tap into the same positive energy as a team, as a group, as a unit, you begin to have what's called then synergy. When the whole team taps into the same centralized energy, you have a synergy. You have a synergy. Once you tap into that synergy, everyone in that group will be affected by that positive change. But just the same can happen when the negative energy comes. The whole group can be affected by that negative energy. They say it only takes one bad apple to spoil a bunch. That's so true because what happens again is that energy is transposed. That energy is transferred into the rest of the apples. The bad seed is transferred into the rest of the apples. So we have to be careful about the energy that we take into a room. So let's just recap once again. We learned that E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. We learned that there's a couple kinds of energy. The first is kinetic. The kinetic energy is the energy in motion. The other energy is potential energy or stored up energy. That energy that we have to tap into. That source is already there, but we have to be able to tap into that source and release the energy. The next thing we learn, that energy can never be created or destroyed. Always think about the water. The water changes form from water form. If you freeze it, it's a solid form. And if you put it on the stove and bring it to a boil, it'll change into a gas form. Heart attacks go up 33% on Monday morning. People going to a job that they don't like. They say fake it till you make it sometime. So put that into your mind state. And as you go into Monday mornings, and as people want to bring your energy down, you fake it till you make it if you have to. But you got to think those positive thoughts, those happiness, love, contentment, courage, and joy. And you don't want to tap into those negative sources, the hate, the worry, the fear, the doubt, the jealousy. And a lot of times these are what lead to our health problems diminishing. It sometimes even eventually leads to our demise. So be careful about the energy that you choose. And I hope you'll choose positive. I hope you'll choose this motivational movement. And I hope you're inspired enough to go inspire someone else. Until next time, I love you to death. And there's nothing you can do about it. Until next time, I'll see you then.